What exactly should kids do if they don't have enough food to eat at home despite having enough money? Tell a trustworthy adult that you're being starved. It falls under abuse, not poverty. FYI, for anyone who needs to know, most food banks don't verify income. They welcome anyone who needs food, even if the need for food is due to abuse rather than money. But everyone else is correct. The answer is to tell trusted adults, as you are being abused. Unfortunately, the correct answer is tell an adult. How the system is supposed to work is social workers find out about it, and they step in to figure out what is best for the child. However, it is a broken system and people suck. And I am so sorry it failed you. Your best option is to keep telling adults. Tell different adults. Tell your teachers, your school nurse, your friends' moms. At best, they will kick up enough of a stink that social services has to do more. At worst, a couple of them will start bringing in snacks for you. I was skin and bones my entire childhood. I never thought about it. My family was poor. I remember feeling jealous of my classmates. There was a boy that would have a sandwich with cheese on it. I'd always glance at him wishing that was me. My lunch was a cup full of cheap soup broth and bread with one paper-thin slice of lunch meat. The kind that back then cost like dough. Take 9 cents for like 16 slices of meat you can see through. Sometimes it would have mustard on it. I also remember being jealous of the kids that could buy the school lunches. They'd get to drink those little milk carton things. I never thought to complain to others or ask for food. I just kinda existed in a state of being hungry and thin. But yeah, there's lots of adults here saying what kids should do, but kids don't think like adults do. I didn't, at least. This is why having lunch for all kids in public school is such a great idea. It takes away the stigma on poor kids. It feeds other kids who are not poor but may be abused. For the very poor, it may be the only meal they have in a day. Why are MAGA so against feeding kids? Are children really able to pull themselves up by their bootstraps? My son 12 and his friends know there is always a snack bin in our home. You do not need to ask for snacks in our home, especially the snack bin or the mini fridge in the garage. Made it easily accessible. There's even a small toiletry bin in our powder bathroom. Toothbrushes, mini deodorant, tampons, hair ties, even condoms if you dig hard enough. But 12 is a little young for those to be on open display. I work in nursing, so I got Plan B and Narcan on hand too, but again, 12 is a tad young for that. I would have told a trusted adult about it. That's abuse. I'm sorry you went through that. As mentioned, you ask around to trusted friends, parents, and relatives. My parents made an extra lunch for most of high school to help my brother's friend, after brother asked for more food in his lunch since he was giving his food away. I had food in the house, but there were strict rules about eating it because we were kinda poor. I had to ask for permission. My mom and stepdad worked a lot and would go out to bars at night. I was home alone a lot without the ability to reach them to ask for permission. My stepdad was a horrible drunk, so I was fearful of making him mad by eating without asking. He called it stealing, and he hated stealing. I just told my lunch lady, teachers, and friends' parents. They often helped me out, but strangely never stepped in to say or do anything. I wasn't starving, just hungrier than I'd like to be. Could call a police non-emergency or look up local food bank type charities, then go to them asking for help. That would also prioritize CPS-wise and prompt investigation of the parents on why their kid's going without, especially if they are a young preteen child, say. I grew up without much food also, and I used to steal food from the grocery store on my way home from school. I was so hungry that I was dizzy when I stood up at school during the day. Looking back, I did it so often I suspect the workers knew and were letting me get away with it. Nowadays in the US there are food programs in some schools that will send food home to you discreetly every Friday. You could talk to someone at the school and see if they can help you out. Scream from the rooftops, go to your neighbors. This was not your fault, it was your parents' fault. Unfortunately, the answer is be born to better parents. There's a difference between refusing to feed your kids and not having access to food. Your parents are the former. IMO, it's one of the worst types of people. To have the ability and refuse to care for your kids is just abuse. I was in the same predicament. We had enough food at home, but I went into anaphylaxis after having some kind of fish at school during hot lunch. I almost died and my parents canceled hot lunches, but didn't buy anything for us to take for lunch either. I felt guilty the rest of my HS years because that meant my sister was without lunch too. One way that I've tried to offset this, as an adult, is to make my own kids very large lunches. They always got what we had for dinner the previous night, and more than a few snacks. I taught them to be kind to everyone and always make a point to find the kid others want sit with or who isn't eating, and share. They both have won citizenship awards every year in school. Tell their friends' parents. In my country there's no school lunch, everyone brings food. We lived in a low-income area, and both my sister and I had completely overloaded lunchboxes, so we could share with kids whose parents regularly neglected to send enough food, even though we were low income too. In my state, school meals are provided for all, regardless of income, for exactly this reason. Food banks don't require that you prove income, so that is always an option. CPS should address food insecurity, although if everything looks good they may not be too effective. Pediatricians would be another person who might be able to intervene. If there's money, but the parents aren't paying attention, I wonder if kids could try DoorDash, Instacart. Obviously this assumes they are old enough and can do these. I am so sorry this happened to you. My parents neglected me and I grew up with unhealthy attachments and wondering what was wrong with me. We don't deserve this, and also sometimes they just don't know how to do better. Tell a teacher or other trusted adult. Go to church for the church suppers. As others have said, tell a teacher, counselor, aide, heck, even the custodian janitor. I personally am the type to say, since I don't want other kids to go through this, I will pay X amount towards kids' school lunch balance. And if possible, pick different schools. Heck, I'd probably meet with the superintendent and explain that I had minimal food growing up, and now that I can afford it I want to pay off some balances at different schools. They can let the principal's cafeteria staff know that Anonymous will stop by sporadically to pay off some lunch balances.